It's just another sect with its own sects. A splinter group that broke off from the Christians and invented their own prophet so they could change all the things they didn't like about the version of Christianity that was winning at the time. You see, Christianity has been warring amongst itself since it was invented over which lie will work best to rule the world. Some of them didn't want Jesus to have taken a human form. Some didn't want him to be the Son of God. And it took hundreds of years and much fighting and bloodshed for them to decide that they would do better with the whole Father, Son, Holy Ghost nonsense. And of course, not everybody was happy. One of those groups invented their own prophet, loosely based on the life of some popular mystic of the time, and bam, you got Mohammedanism, which changed its name to Islam about 100 years ago. So all you really did was trade in the bearded white Jesus for the bearded white Muhammad. You fell for the old, my best friend was a black slave routine. Islam believes in all the same silly-ass fairy tales in the Bible that don't make any sense to you about fictional people that never existed at no time or place on earth, that can't be documented anywhere. What? Nobody cared enough about anybody in the Bible or Quran to remember or mark where they were buried? It's time to grow up, move on, and come home. You're probably mad now because they told you Islam is the pure, perfected religion. But if it's so perfect, please tell me, what kind of God allows slaves for you to be fair to? Gives instructions on wife beating, or promises your silly ass virgins in paradise? Only the homosexual, dissexual white race could come up with such women-hating nonsense. Only the homosexual white race could come up with these fake religions with nothing but hatred for the feminine principle. No farrakhan or farrakhan in his or her right mind could conceive of a God without the balance of a goddess. But you swallow it up because they let your broke-ass jackleg marry a bunch of sisters into misery and poverty in your welfare harems. After all Elijah did to clean you up and respect your women as the queen of the universe, your migration to the so-called Sunnah has you again allowing the mistreatment of black women. Don't get me wrong, because I'm not promoting any black Islam as an alternative. Let's make this clear. Ain't no version of Islam good for black people, because there's no reason for us to cling to interpretations of our own spiritual systems bastardized by whites into their own image for their own promotion. All three of the so-called major religions were invented by the whites from deliberately perverted fragments, pieces stolen from our own traditional spiritual systems. The stories that went into the creation of the three-of-a-kind white religions, meaning Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, were stolen from you. And the true uncorrupted information is still available, written right on the walls of tombs, papyri, and structures we built thousands of years before there were any whites on the planet, much less making up lies about any Adam, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, or Muhammad. All three of these white religions place the beginning of life around 6,000 years, because that's around when their history starts, totally ignoring the fact that black people have been documented to exist and build great civilizations on this planet for millions of years. Are you so dumb as to allow your enemy to convince you that we did not know God all those years and lived thousands and thousands of generations in peaceful prosperity with no connection to the divine? Do you hate yourself so much that you think we needed the cracker to come along and introduce us to God? Every one of us has the capacity communicate directly with divine, having no need for fake prophets or messengers to be sent with silly threats of hellfire. Now, brothers and sisters, think about it for a second. Knowing what you know about white people in general, knowing that at no time in his brief history on this planet has he been able to live in harmony with any people, plant life, animal life, the elements, or the planet itself, what would make you think that any one of them were capable of any relationship whatsoever with anything divine? Ain't no God nowhere, at no time or no place, ever talked to no white man or woman. He is a cancer, and like every other cancer, he seeks to dominate and destroy whatever he encounters. He is a creature of disorder and therefore repulsive to divine order, an enemy to anything divine or divinely created. He and his offspring were not created, they came about. Once healthy cells whose spiritual degeneration resulted in a physical degeneration up in them caves, inbreeding and marrying animals over the last ice age. A degenerative, melanin recessive mutate with no way to connect to the divine or divine order that cannot be documented to exist on this planet 20,000 years, amounting to just a disease infecting the several million-year-old body of black humanity. That doesn't mean Muhammad was black any more than Jesus was black. Neither one was black because neither one ever existed on this planet in human form. Islam is not your religion, black man or woman of Afu-Rakayat, any more than Christianity is your religion. They are the fake religious chains of your slave masters who have fed on us for too long. Ain't no white nowhere in history ever lived well without feeding off us. Just as the Roman Empire sustained itself off the rape of Afu-Rakayat and the theft of his resources, the Arab empires were also built off our backs and our resources. Don't you think it's time we gave all these fake religions back to our enemies and got together to stop the whites' current efforts to feed off us by pulling all of our resources together for our use and benefit? When you return to your point of origin, you have made a complete revolution, which is our only resolution. Wake up, black man or woman of Afu-Rakayat. Your only chance for survival is the rejection of white foods, white culture, white religions, and most importantly, white people. And the return to the culture and real religions of your ancestors who built great civilizations before and after the white cancer infected Mother Earth. The remains of these great civilizations that the whites to this day have been unable to duplicate serve to remind us that when we rejected the whites, their culture and religions, we held on to our land and freedom. And when we allowed the whites in, accepting their perverse culture and fake religions, we lost our land and freedom. Nah, you ain't no damn Muslim. You're Afu-Rakayat. Now stop making a fad out of an Arab fraud. Take the oath, set up an ancestral shrine, and go set your land and people free.